Ladies and gentlemen, internet, my name is Peridiam, and the post-merge of an all-winner season of Survivor is upon us, and I'm living in a fairy tale. A new school fairy tale, where buying a jar of peanut butter may be the smartest move made thus far. Nonetheless, I'm enjoying this season quite a lot, and I figured now that we are up to the halfway point, hitting the second half and third act of the story, it is time to put one more battle map into action, where we've gone from 2 tribes to 3 to now just 1. How did the pre-merge and swap fare insofar as positioning for each player as they transition into the merge, into playing their individual games? What do the alliances look like? And who has the biggest, bushiest lion mane of them all? So for possibly the last time this season, we'll see tentative, let's get the table out, unfurl the map, and put the pieces on the board. That is to say, the loser's bracket pieces, the edge of extinction. Because that's where we start this merge episode, there's not a ton to talk about here, but we do see Natalie spend all of her cash on an advantage in the challenge as well as an idol. And from what I have read online, those edge idols expire if the owner doesn't win the challenge to get back in the game, so either way, Amber gives her tokens to Rob, her hubby, and he does the same thing as Natalie. He buys an advantage and an idol. Meanwhile, Parvati has no fire tokens because apparently getting voted out later in the game is a bad thing. Okay, game balancing. And so instead, she does yoga. Let's get to the challenge and the merge. Drop your buffs, new schoolers, because we are one. A new tribe, Koru, and a new game. With those advantages bought on the edge, several players don't have to dig in the sand, which is actually a pretty good advantage, even though Yule didn't need it. Apparently Danny, Tyson, and Ethan also bought this advantage. And as we saw, it was neck and neck, literally a centimeter apart at the finish line between Boston Rob and Tyson to return to the main game. And what do you know? The Peanut Butter Lord reigns supreme as Tyson has returned from the edge to join the new tribe as their 12th member. Tough luck, everyone else. Back to purgatory for you. So let's get the strategy underway. Despite this being somewhat of a compact merge episode because a large part of it was taken up by the edge of extinction, there's a lot to talk about. And actually, no, you know what? Before we get to the strategy, let's just enjoy this merge feast. Om nom 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 nom. New fire token menu, spaghetti metaphors, and war stories of the pre-merge. Good times. Rough times. Denise explains her move to become the Queen Slayer, breaker of chains. Everyone laughs. Those pitiful old schoolers. We're the lords of the keep now, except Tyson, who's just like side-eyeing everyone. Wendell tells us he has Nick and Michelle with him, his apparent number 1 and number 2 closest allies. However, he also wants to work with Jeremy. So he goes and connects with him and they discuss working together. Wendell says to Jeremy that Sophie is cool with him but playing hard, while Jeremy says the same about Denise. These two guys knew each other from outside the game and are reconnecting, but Wendell says that Nick is his closest confidant, and so Jeremy is thinking, let's see about that. Jeremy begins to concoct a plan to get Nick out and hoard Wendell all to himself. Oh, boys will be boys. On the flip side, with the other boys, Tyson and Ben talk by the water well and discuss the idea that the big targets should stick together. Tyson is like, dude, I tried that. Look what happened. Ben decides that the biggest targets are Tony, Jeremy, Tyson, and himself. Ben decides that. And from my perspective, it looks like the theme of this post-merge is going to shape up to be big threats versus little threats, or lions versus hyenas. So the two guys talk with Tony and Jeremy about this idea. Rally the big threats together to protect each other.
What are you looking at as big targets? We got me, you, Jeremy, Tony.
Yeah.
There's 4.
I think the big targets are already outnumbered.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So we have to take control before they realize that.
Tyson and I went down there. We were talking about keeping the threats in. So the smaller target, less threatening, are the ones.
Or the low
he wants.
profile.
Low profile. Yeah.
People like Wendell, Nick, Adam, and Michelle. They're good players, but they're lower profile. They're not in the spotlight.
We have to break up the sleepers.
Yeah, or that's 100%.
And suddenly, for the players who perceive themselves as most likely to win if they get to the end, they realize, you know what? If I don't even get to the end, it doesn't really matter who I'm sitting next to because I'm not gonna be there. And of course, Tony is totally on board. It's music to his ears. Literally, the Lion King soundtrack can be heard faintly in the background. And conversely, Tony wants to target one of Adam, Nick, Wendell, and Michelle. They're like the 4 low-profile players. Fair enough, I get where he's coming from. But then it rains. A lot. Adam cackles. He survived way worse. A cyclone, a rock draw, and Figgy and Taylor. This is nothing. Meanwhile, Tyson talks with Wendell and Nick amidst the downpour, and the target shifts to Denise. They heard her stories. She is the Queen Slayer for a reason. Nick wants to get Denise out too, and going into the immunity challenge, she is the current big target. But then of course the immunity challenge happens, and what do you know? Denise wins immunity and a fire token. So does Jeremy. Hey, that's my top 2 from the preseason. Nailed it. So with Denise off the table, I'm not really sure where Nick is going at the moment, but Jeremy turns his sights to Nick, his original target. Tony, Ben, and Jeremy talk, and they decide upon either voting out Nick or Wendell. That trio blue tribe from the swap is in a bad spot. They're on the bottom and are quickly becoming the easy vote for this first vote. Tony has this amusing moment where he describes Nick as a hyena, and Ben is like, yeah, he keeps butting into conversations. What's up with that? So Jeremy meets with Nick, his target, but also Wendell and Michelle, and they agree upon a single focused target for the 4 of them. Nick wants to gun for Adam, and they all agree if it couldn't be Denise, it should be her number 1 ally, Adam. He's not trustworthy. Just look at the pre-merge if you want a resume for that. So they quickly go to recruit numbers for this vote. Wendell talks with Kim and Sarah about voting out Adam. It's pitched as the easy vote. And this is an interesting concept because it's been creeping up more and more as of late in Survivor, the idea of an easy vote at the merge. Normally when you get to the merge in any season of Survivor, the vote gets quite complicated with several factions trying to outmaneuver one another, but in the past few seasons, it's turned into more of like a pile-on, a dog pile, where everyone just agrees on a single person because, hey, anyone but me. Just a few seasons ago in David vs. Goliath, we had the single biggest amount of votes in one tribal council with Elizabeth with 12, so I'm not sure if this is due to larger merges or what, but, it's something to consider. So Adam, Sophie, and Ben talk and agree on Nick or Wendell. Sophie wants Wendell out. She could work with Nick in the future, but then Sophie also points out that there's this perceived Big 4 alliance with Ben, Tyson, Tony, and Jeremy. She highlights them and their strategy, and she says that Jeremy is calling the shots, so if they pick off Wendell, it'll be like cutting Jeremy off at the knees. Not necessarily voting him out, just sort of indirectly weakening his status so he stays loyal. We also see Tony talk with Sarah, Ben, and Adam about getting out Wendell, and the numbers are beginning to become clear. We have the Big 4 Lion Alliance with Tony, Ben, and Tyson who are clearly targeting Wendell. We've also seen Sarah, Sophie, and Adam join them. They already have 6, but given Denise is close with Adam and she was the original target, you gotta imagine that she's on this side too, giving them the numbers. The only players unaccounted for now are Kim, and what is Jeremy going to do? Ben breaks the bad news to Jeremy. Wendell is the target of the majority. Wendell is screwed. Sorry, man. Jeremy is disheartened, believing this is a bad move for several people. Ben, Wendell can be a shield. Don't get rid of him so soon. Ben says he doesn't entirely want Wendell gone, but it's going to take a lot of work to flip this vote. As of right now in this merge, Jeremy is squarely in the middle of 2 groups, and Jeremy doesn't want Wendell out. Jeremy talks with Sarah, and she actually says that she would prefer it if Wendell stayed, so Jeremy then talks with Kim about keeping him too. They should vote out Adam instead. Jeremy then confirms that he has numbers with Nick, Michelle, and Wendell, and so if this is all adding up, now Jeremy has 6, maybe 7 votes, so he turns to Denise to get 1 more vote.
I think we might have to just look at Nick and Adam.
So then, are you guys wanting to keep Wendell?
Yeah.
Okay, if we take out Nick, there's not a huge ripple effect.
No.
Right? If we take out Adam, there's not a huge ripple effect.
No.
I mean, I would have been the ripple.
Yeah.
And I'm saying,
And you're saying
I'm saying
you're all right. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
smooth.
Yeah.
I mean,
Even though you're so close with Adam.
I could go either way.
Yeah.
Adam's been one of my closest alliance members, but at the same time, you just have to kind of go with the flow or go with the tide. So Adam and I created a day 1 alliance, but that may not be a day 39 alliance.
Now, this might sound crazy because Denise is apparently really close with Adam, but then Denise and Jeremy were old pals from that swap Dakal tribe, you know, the woman who played an idol on him to take out the queen. Surprisingly, or maybe not so much, Denise is cool with cutting Adam. If that's the vote, you know, she'll go with it. She gets it. She recognizes that she'll probably have to cut Adam sooner than later, and if she can't save him now, perhaps she will have to cut her losses and seek greener pastures. On the flip side, Adam talks with Sophie and is paranoid. Sophie reassures him the numbers are on their side. Even though he's going to be the target for the opposition, the vote is still Wendell. And Sophie is completely right yet again, from her mouth to our screens. So Adam's like, okay, breathe, get some composure. He goes and he talks with Ben, his old pal from the green swapped Yara tribe, and Ben is like, bruh, back off, I can't take your crap right now. Adam is then reminded of the green tribe days, and yeah, Ben is crazy. I don't think there's any love lost between these two guys. In a final scene before we get to Tribal Council and the vote of the episode, we see a quick scene between Adam and Denise. Adam is afraid he's in trouble, but Denise reassures him to just trust the process. And at this point, it's unclear to me if she's still on board with Jeremy to vote out Adam and is now lying to Adam, or is actually with him, hearkening back to the premiere and is reassuring him she's still on his side. I like how this kind of bookends the episode, as we see the vote turns into a 9-3 result, with 3 votes on Adam from Wendell, Nick, and Michelle, and then 9 votes on Wendell from everyone else. Wendell is voted out by this large majority, this coalition of both the swapped red tribe and the swapped green tribe, plus Tyson from the edge, while the 3 players on the bottom are all from that blue swapped Sele tribe, leaving us only Nick and Michelle to fend for themselves going forward. And go figure, of course, Wendell bequeaths a fire token to each of them. So that's ultimately the merge episode of Winners at War. The craziness that ensues really is kind of cool just to see 12 winners like running around jostling for power, trying to get into the best spot possible to move forward. This episode, I think, was crazier when you break it down than when you look at it from a top-down, big picture view, but ultimately it ended up in a pretty orderly place. 2 former tribes came together from the swap. They pulled in Tyson, who was from the edge, who really didn't have any connections to anyone, and that's the vote for you. A lot of noise to just get to that one synopsis. We have the Big 4 Lion Alliance with Tony, Ben, Tyson, and Jeremy, who went with the numbers to take out Wendell. Clearly, Jeremy had to give a little bit in this case because the whole episode really focused on him. He was the mover and the shaker, running around talking to almost everyone, and ultimately he did not get his way. We have Denise and Adam, the original power pair from the first episode, sticking together. We also have Cops Are Us with Tony and Sarah, underreported in the merge, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. And then we have Sophie and Kim. Sophie is kind of on an island, ironically. Her previous secret alliance with Wendell and Nick is just totally dead in the water, likely because those 2 guys voted out Yule. But Sophie is comfortably camouflaged in between all of these other groupings now. And I think we can all agree she has fantastic reads on the pulse of the game, but I do wonder, can she find a secure group to stay loyal to her? And then lastly, we have Kim, who really didn't get any moments to talk about her options, though she definitely had some. But it looks like she went with her swapped red tribe as opposed to going with Nick, Wendell, or Michelle, players that she never seemed close to anyway. And all of this comes together to say that Nick and Michelle are now in a bad spot. The good news is that Sophie wants to work with Nick, and maybe that'll keep him afloat. Michelle probably has the smallest target of anyone, so now would be the perfect time to just keep it that way. Or so I would think, until Tony comes along and is like, hey, smoke out the hyenas, and then loads another round. Not a great spot for Michelle going forward, but then I did say this in the last battle map, and here she is. Regardless of everything, that is the craziness, the positioning, and the overall strategy of the Winners at War merge vote as it stands. So I want to know, what do you guys think? Who is screwed? Who is leading the charge? Is there anyone that you feel great about? Is there anyone you just don't feel great about? In the end, my name is still Peridiam, saying thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this latest mapping. Don't forget to brush your mane on your way out, and I will see you in the next one once I go pop a Zyrtec, because truth be told, I'm allergic to cats. Least of all the big, exotic ones.
Go! You better be ready. It's coming for you. The fire is burning. And when this is through, one soul will survive. coming for you.
So we'll just.
What's up, man?
What's up, man? Just water.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
You know what I mean?